Well. Welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watts UK99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. And it is part 2 of our Mets prospect profile countdown. We have already uploaded the beginning of our countdown where we ranked prospects 20 to 11, and now we are into the top 10. And by the way, this Mets minor league system just this past week was ranked number 9 in all of Major League Baseball. So before the Mets had been around the 15 to 16 mark, they are steadily climbing. So this is very encouraging if you are a fan of the New York Mets. So let's get right into it. My number 10 prospect I had ranked number 9 in 2024, and it's Blade Tidwell, 23-year-old right-handed pitcher. Well, Tidwell was promoted from AA to AAA. In AA, he did very well. AAA, he struggled. The home runs went up. The walks went up. The strikeouts went down. Now, we need to keep in mind, in AAA, it's a more offense-driven league. They use that new automated ball strike challenge system, so you really can't get away with those pitches that are just outside the strike zone. So Tidwell had a 12.9% walk rate, which was among the highest among any Mets pitcher in the minor leagues last season. On the good side, though, his stuff remained pretty consistent. His fastball is still around 97 miles an hour. He throws a sweeper, a split change, and a cutter, but he does have to throw more strikes at the AAA level. I still don't have the highest upside for him. I think he's sort of a back-of-the-rotation starter, and his command does need to take a step up, but I could see him carving out a career as a 4 to 5 starter, maybe a long man in the bullpen. So Blade Tidwell, I have him ranked at number 10. I expect him to start the year in Syracuse in AAA. Number 9, this is one of the biggest risers in the system, and it's Jonahtong, the 21-year-old right-handed pitcher. I had him ranked probably in the low 20s last year, just outside the countdown, and now I've got him ranked in the top 10. So when the Mets drafted him in the 7th round back in 2022, he was considered sort of that raw piece of clay that needed to be sort of fine-tuned and molded properly. And the Mets, they signed him because he had a commitment at North Dakota State, and they saw something there they could work with. Well, in 2024, Jonahtong pitched 113 innings, had a 3.03 ERA, allowed 85 hits only, not bad in 113 innings, and he struck out 160 batters. That's 12.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. That is really, really good, and he did that between low A St. Lucie, high A Brooklyn, and he got a little bit of a run in double A Binghamton. So he's rising. Now, Tong is 6'1". Now he throws directly over the top. So he gets about 20 inches of vertical break on his fastball, which is really, really big. And even though he doesn't throw it, 100 miles an hour, he throws about 92 to 94 most of the time. But it's that vertical break that allows him to get swings and misses. His go-to secondary pitch is an old-school 12 to 6 curveball. He's also working on developing a slider sort of cutter, a slutter pitch, and a changeup. Right now, he only uses that against lefties. So he still needs a little bit of refinement. But at 21 years old, he's looking like a big success story. I expect Tong to play in Binghamton to start the 2025 season, but don't be surprised if he gets up to Syracuse at some time this season. Number 8, I hesitated to include him because he's already seen the major leagues, but I'm going to include Luisangelacuna. Now, I had him ranked number 3 in 2024. 22 years old, can play just about anywhere on the diamond, second short, outfield. Well, he arrived in 2024. Now, he was kind of up and down at AAA. He got a call-up to the big leagues when Francisco Lindor missed some time in September with his back injury. And then in a huge time for the Mets, he hit 400 batting, 423 on base, 920 slugging, 3 home runs in just 8 games. The question with Acuna is, where does he play to start the season? Because I don't know if I want him coming up to the New York Mets, up to the big club, and sitting on the bench and only starting 1 day a week. He can play just about anywhere that you want him to play. A lot of people say center field is where he will be at his best. So Jose Siri, Tyrone Taylor, they better beware, because Luisangel Acuna could be breathing down their neck. Now, you saw good signs, very good barrel control, good bat speed. He hits the ball very, very hard. I just want him to start regardless, whether it's in Queens or whether it's in Syracuse. Number 7 is going to be NolanMclean. This is a right-handed pitcher, 23 years old. Now, I didn't talk about him last year. Some of the Mets scouts called him Cowboy Ohtani because he was a two-way player. He entered 2024 both hitting and serving as a pitcher as well. Well, June 20th, he pretty much stopped hitting, and the Mets decided to use him exclusively as a pitcher. Now, McClean has the best pitch in the Mets system with a sweeper. It's got a grade from 20 to 80. It rates at a 70. And let's just say it spins very, very sharply. We're talking Seth Lugo. I don't want to get into spin rates and all the details, but people always raved about Seth Lugo and the curveball because of the spin rate. McClean's sweeper spins on that level. His four-seam fastball is above average, sits about 94, 95 miles an hour. He can get it up to 98 when he needs to. He also has a curveball, has a changeup as well. McClean, now that he's focused really on pitching, a lot of scouts think he has a very, very high ceiling. He does need to find a third offering, potentially a fourth offering as well. If what he winds up sticking with is his fastball and his sweeper as his only reliable pitches, I could see him carving out a role in the bullpen. But I think 2026 is going to be a year he makes an impact in the major leagues. This is one prospect I would not want to trade if I'm the Mets. All right, let's go to number 6. And I've got carsonbenge, the 22-year-old outfielder. Mets drafted him in the first round out of Oklahoma State. He, just like McClean, was a two-way player in college, but Benge is going to be a hitter exclusively. He hits from the left side, got very good plate discipline, makes very good steady contact to go with above average raw power, and he has that power. He can hit it to the opposite field a lot. So he's not an exclusive pull hitter. The thing with Benge, he's got a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of torque in his swing, and I think the Mets are going to try to settle that down so he can repeat that swing easier and not allow opposing pitchers to exploit it. Now, Benge played right field in college, but he's a good athlete, got a plus throwing arm. I mean, in college, he threw 95 miles an hour. The Mets right now are planning to use him as a center fielder, and I think that makes sense considering the Mets have that right field spot kind of locked up for the next, next decade plus. So there you go. But I think with some swing adjustments, some physical maturation, Benge could be an everyday outfielder who could hit 20, 25 home runs a year. All right, on to the top 5. Number 5, I'm going to go with elianpena, the 17-year-old shortstop. The Mets signed him just this January for $5 million, the biggest bonus they've ever given to an international free agent. The Mets, they loved him so much, they only had $6.1 or $6.2 million to spend. They used $5 million of it just on this player. And Pena ranked the number 3 international prospect. Roki Sasaki was number 1. And if the Mets could have signed Sasaki, they could not have signed Pena. They wouldn't have had the money to sign both. But Pena is a left-handed hitting machine. His plate discipline is insanely advanced for somebody who can't even get into an R-rated movie. Okay, recognizes pitches well, very patient, works the count, sprays the ball to all fields. Maybe a young Soto. I don't want to go that far, but you see a lot of the same raw tools. Not a lot of power yet, but that is expected to come as he grows into his body. Some scouts say 25, 30 home runs is very possible. On defense, very smooth footwork, quick, steady hands, can play anywhere in the infield that you want him to. So let's see where Pena starts. I'm hoping he can get into Brooklyn this year. I expect him to start in St. Lucie. Let's see where he goes. Number 4. Okay, we're going to go with ryanclifford. And these last 4, I think most Mets fans will know these names. ryanclifford, 21 years old. I had him ranked at number 4 last year as well. He has the most raw power of anybody in the Mets system, pretty much right along with Baez. He's got a grade of about 65 on the 20 to 80 scouting scale. And he has great exit velocity. He has a natural uppercut, so he elevates the ball very well. Once he got out of Brooklyn, which is an absolute pitcher's park, especially if you're a left-handed hitter, he really started to shine. So he went to Binghamton in AA, ended the year 9th in the Eastern League in OPS with an 815, 3rd in home runs, 18 home runs in just 98 games. And what's so impressive, he was only 20 years old. Most of the pitchers, they're about 24, 25 years old. So Clifford is looking good. He could stand to be a little bit more aggressive early in counts. Sometimes he will take too many pitches. He likes to work the count. Sometimes he has to learn to take his cuts when he can get them. With defense, I expect him to settle in at first base. He could play corner outfield. I see him as more of a first baseman, maybe DH. That will be his likely home long term. His arm strength, yeah, it's a pretty good arm strength. Could work in a corner outfield spot, but both the Astros and Mets gave him ample looks at first base because his lack of quickness will be less of a concern. But you know what? That bat is so good that when the Mets got him, along with Drew Gilbert in the Justin Verlander trade, some people were more excited about Clifford. So let's see what happens. Let's go to number 3, and I just happened to mention his name. It's Drew Gilbert, also acquired in the Justin Verlander trade. I had him ranked number 2 last year. I dropped him one spot. He is now 24 years old, and he missed most of 2024, played only 56 games for Syracuse due to a hamstring injury that just would not go away. In his 56 games, he hit 10 home runs, closed the season very well. In September, he had an OPS of 821. Right now, he's playing in the Arizona Fall League. In 18 games, he's got 4 home runs and 805 OPS. So Gilbert is playing very well when he's on the field. Now, I wouldn't call him the most talented all-around prospect by any means, but he's very good across the board. Probably his best tool is his throwing arm. When he pitched in college, he threw about 93, 94 miles an hour. So you can play him anywhere in the outfield that you want to. And when he plays like his hair's on fire. He projects as an everyday player who gives you full hustle, and I expect him to be ready for the big leagues in 2025. If Jose Siri, if Tyrone Taylor struggle, if somebody else gets hurt, heaven forbid, Drew Gilbert, I expect him to get called up. Let's go on to number 2, and it's the highest-ranking pitcher I've got in the system by far, and it's Brandonsproat. Last year, I had him ranked at number 14. He has jumped up as high as anybody. 24 years old as well. He was the Mets Organizational Pitcher of the Year. He went from a second-round pick in 2023 to a top 100 consensus prospect, one of the top pitching prospects in all of Major League Baseball. Dominated Double-A. Dominated high A as well. For the season, had a 2.05 ERA in 87 innings, struck out 110, got a late season promotion to Syracuse, ran into some struggles in AAA, had a 7.53 ERA in just 28 innings. Again, AAA, it's much more of a hitter's league as they face a lot of veteran hitters and they use a different baseball. So there's always an adjustment period. But Sproat has phenomenal stuff. His fastball, he can easily throw it in the mid-90s. He hits triple digits when he wants to. And he tended to scale back his velocity as the games got late into the season. With secondary pitchers, he offers his changeup with sort of an arm side fade, so it kind of rides a little bit. It's not a straight changeup. He's also got a very hard slider. He's got a sweeper and a curveball that is more of a get-me-over type pitch. Now, his strikeout rate jumped in 2023, went up again in 2024, but he did walk about 10% of his batters. So his control has gotten better over the years as he's ascended in the last 2 years in the Mets system. And with some refinement, a lot of people are projecting this is a number 2 level starter. And if he's a number 2 starter, who knows if he can make it to be a quote-unquote ace. So, but the number 1, number 2 starter, to me, it's very subjective. Just how reliable and how dominant is he? So I'm very excited because, the Mets farm system, they're very high on position players, but not a lot of young starting pitchers with high upside. Brandonsproat represents that. And for my number 1 prospect, well, he was my number 1 prospect in 2024 as well. Plays shortstop, plays second base, plays center field. It is Jettwilliams, 21 years old. I just can't take him out of the number 1 spot just because he had an injury last season. He only played 33 games in 2024 because he had wrist surgery. He came back late in the season and got to AAA Syracuse in the final week. He's been playing very well in the Arizona Fall League, made the Fall Stars game, I guess is what they call it. Offensively, great plate discipline, great bat-to-ball skills, decent power, despite him only being a dynamo. He's only 5'6", 175 pounds, but he can still hit the ball over the fence. Great athletic ability. His hustle is absolutely fantastic. And he looks to be somebody who could steal 30, 35, 40 bases a year. There is no doubt he could be a dynamic leadoff hitter for the Mets. I mean, I compare him to sort of like a right-handed Lenny Dykstra. Just a scrappy, dirty player that people are going to want to buy the jerseys of, buy the T-shirts of, get the bobbleheads of, all that kind of stuff. He has that extra bit of charisma that just has me really excited to see what he can do with the New York Mets. So that is my top 10. If you have some thoughts on my list, hey, put them right down there in the comments. Cool to agree, cool to disagree, all good. Thanks so much for coming by. Be sure to check out the other videos, and I will see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.